In this episode, I talk to Steve Smith, who's a professional salesperson, and we talk about his experience, learning, the challenges and obstacles of becoming a professional salesperson. And if you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay up to date on these videos and my channel. And I hope you enjoy. We finally got this. We finally got this on the books.
Yeah. Sorry, a lot of rescheduling on my end.
Yeah, I mean, I deserve it. I deserve probably to wait longer. I tell everyone who I talk to that you were the first person on the podcast that I had, and we talked for 2 hours, and I messed up the audio, and it was all my fault. It wasn't like that you were low. It was because the way I was recording it just wasn't taking your audio as an input. I was recording the webcam, and it was not the actual audio. So it was this one's better. Look, we got some changes. I got a new mic. I got a ring light behind me.
Your beard's a little fuller.
My beard's full. I got this thing behind me. It's a little different.
Good,
yeah.
More fit from now.
Actually, though, I don't know. My opinion is that I'm sort of happy that was the case because I sort of didn't like the way our format was. Like I was doing a book review with you on a book you've never read before.
Correct.
So it was a stupid format. It was dumb on my part, and I deserve it. So I threw it out. We'll do a little cheers.
Cheers, buddy. I guess we can tap it for you. There you go.
How's the family?
Family's doing very well. No complaints, It's crazy, a household of four with a 6-month-old and a 5-year-old. It gets chaotic.
So what's your the name of the latest?
Wesley.
Yeah.
Wesley. He's May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
May 5th.
That's right.
Got it. So Margot was born June 3rd. But I thought we had the same dates. Like Margot was like May 26th or something. You were just early and I was late.
Yeah, there you go.
Got it. Yeah. Well, so I messed up the first podcast in royally every single way you can think of. This version, I think I messaged you about this, but this version is just like a conversation.
Sure.
Conversation while we have a nice drink. But there's a couple things. You already know that this is a self-development podcast. Get people on who we can learn from. And there's two things that, in your experience, which I think are interesting. The first one you know of, right? Like you are a really good salesperson. And I think sales is so important in people, regardless if you're doing sales or not. But then the other side, which we never even talked about, was your experience being essentially potentially a pro football player if you wanted to. We never talked about that.
Well, I mean,
yeah, and
could have been.
I feel so. Outside of the physical necessity, you need to have like some physical aspects to like characteristics to be an NFL player, but the driving force behind being a really good football player, behind being a really good salesperson, is probably you're just a motivated mother effer. And so there's probably that characteristic that's driving all these amazing things in your life. Yeah. So we can talk about all that stuff.
Sure.
We won't go on for 2 hours though, like last time.
I'm all yours.
So I don't know if you can actually say the exact position you're in. If you don't want to say that, it's fine. But what is your current role?
Yeah, no, I do. I'm in pharmaceutical sales. I sell, a medication to physicians. It's a disease, which is a rare disease. I'll mention it. It's autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease. I know, a mouthful. ADPKD for short.
That might be the longest word in history.
Yeah, it's it's a mouthful to say the least. It's a disease that's inherited from your parents. You have 50% chance of the offspring getting it if even just one of the parents has the disease. And the medication I have, it's not a cure, but it does slow down the progression of the disease. And at this point in time, it's the only one of its kind. And, my job is to build awareness and really be an advocate for the patients who need the medication, because I'm battling, physicians who do not have the awareness and the knowledge of the disease state, and then they don't understand how the medication works, the mechanism of action, which then in turn could, lead them to not having that comfortability to talk to the patient, and the patient may never have the opportunity to even hear about the drug that can help them. So my job is to make sure all those things happen.
How long have you been in sales in total? How many years?
I would say I started in 2011, so 10 years.
Got it. When we talked one time, I asked you if you could sell anything. If I put you like in Nevada or California or any place in the world and you had to sell something, regardless if it's pharmaceuticals or not, you were like, yeah, dude, you have it or you don't. And you seemed extremely confident that you can go anywhere and be fine. Like, because my whole thing that I was saying is, when I asked you this question, is that you build up a business when you're in sales. So then it takes a little while. It takes a little while to do that. In the beginning, no one knows who the hell you are. Build it up, get some credibility. You get stable, probably income from commissions. I don't know how that works, and then I was like, yeah, well, if you moved, how would that be? Not that you had an intention of moving, but I'm just saying if you did, you'd be like totally fine with it. And you were like, almost cavalier. Who the hell knows? But you were like fine. And I felt that was I don't know. People get like a little nervous when you're moving into a completely new role, completely new industry. You seemed fine about it. Why is that? Like, have you just completely honed your sales skills completely?
No. So, I mean, what you're seeing on, the outside is what I'm putting out there, right? And that's part of sales too.
So you're bullshitting me.
No, I'm not bullshitting. Well, maybe. I'm a professional at it, No, but, anyone, everyone, I don't care who you are, you have human emotion. So like when you're thinking about, hey, I've been successful here in sales. Can I do this? I'm in New York. Can I do this in California? I've never been to California. And would I be nervous? Yeah, I would be nervous. But also, am I confident that, hey, especially now, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've started, business from the ground up and built it into, a massive account or business. And I've seen it happen. I know what it takes. But the truth is, I think once you understand, how to sell and really what it is, it translates into so many things in your life, but it also works regardless of where you're at. Geography doesn't matter. So I think it's just, of course, I had the emotions of, hey, might be difficult. I may be a little nervous. I'm also super excited. I'm also confident in what I know. I'm also maybe doubting myself in times, but all these things go into a salesperson's mind, even when they're walking into account that they, walk into every day, maybe. I mean, these are just normal things that pop into anyone's brain.
In your head, is it just a numbers game?
No.
No.
Numbers play a big role in it, of course. I mean, I think when you're starting out in sales, the numbers aspect is on your side, meaning, I was told very early on that this is how sales was broken down. And I think it's true. There's nothing to prove this, but the numbers could work with you. If you're going out and doing your job, whether it's, meeting clients that you have and trying to upsell or going out and generating business from scratch, 33% are going to say yes. Just love saying yes. I mean, you could sell them, I don't want to say it, but you could sell them anything. You know where I was going with that.
You could sell them watching my podcast. 33% might say yes.
33% will say yes. 33% are going to say no. They're going to say no. You could give them free money. They're going to say no. And then the other 33%, that's where you're really swaying. That's where your ability and your skill come into play. And that's just the beginning of sales, how I learned it. And when you go out there, you realize, okay, if these statistics are true, the more doors I knock out on, the more people I'll get to say yes, right? So that's kind of it.
But so here's the thing. That all makes sense to me. I think it's probably a developed intuition that a salesperson gets. Like if in the first year you don't have this, but the developed intuition I'm talking about is the first 33% who say yes, get it. Like that's pretty easy to get. But the next 2/3, I could imagine, I'm not a professional salesperson, but I've read a little bit into it, but I can just put myself in the situation. How do you know who's who? Like, when do you stop and say, this guy is a no? Like, there's not a chance. Like,
well, I mean, as a salesperson, you're trained to handle objections and, scenarios. What if they say this? Well, you go to this.
But you have to get better at that, right? Like in the beginning, was it difficult to parse out
that? And when
I
say these percentages, I'm talking about, I know nothing and I'm going to go into a sales career. I'm saying there's statistics that are going to help and hurt you, but if you know what they are or have a sense, and it could be, you can think differently about it. There's no right or wrong way, but you just got to know that this is going to be motivating you to go out and knock on more doors, so to speak, right? So like percentages say you're going to sell if you go and do more.
Yeah.
How do you know? I mean, when you're running down a sales call, it might be one call, it might be a short cycle, it might be a long cycle sale that could take months. There comes a point where you're starting to get down to the nitty gritty where you're having conversations and the things that you're expecting to hear back, you're just not hearing. And for whatever the reason may be, it doesn't add up. And at that point, you start to doubt, okay, like I still have a few things I could say to maybe turn this around, but you're starting down that path of this may not be the right fit.
Yeah. Could it just be that you're not talking to a decision maker too?
That's a whole nother aspect. Yeah, that could also be a possibility. I mean, it could also be, again, these statistics are early on. As you grow wiser, right? We all grow wiser as we age and as we, go down our career paths further and further, you start to develop, this intuition. You start to understand and learn from your mistakes. Decision maker is certainly one of those things. And maybe I'm not saying the right thing. Maybe I'm not asking directly enough. Maybe I'm sugarcoating because I don't want to hear a no, but I'm not asking for a yes. So I'm not, there's things that you develop over time. It's not it's not a one size fits all career, that's for sure. And then, you mentioned that we were supposed to review a book, which I've never read. But that's one guy's perspective who is very successful. There's many people who have been very successful doing, have a number of different styles. So the point is, though, I think everyone develops their own style. I think in the beginning, it doesn't come down to numbers. It's just there as you should know that no's are okay. One no is closer to the next yes. And that's just what you start at. That's like the oldest thing in the book, right? One no, you're closer to a yes. I mean, it's just, you got to start somewhere. And those statistics certainly kind of like shield you from complete misery.
What do you based on statistics, do you ever have a day where you just like abnormally get a shitload of no's and it's like almost defeating? And it's, it's hard to take a step back and understand if this is just a fluke of the statistics or you're being a complete total idiot.
Well, yeah, as you get like, again, early on, you don't know any better. It stinks and you just keep going, and you just get a string of no's because again, like, you were so confident when I asked you this question, would you sell anywhere? Could you sell anything? And I said, that's what I'm projecting on the outside. when you're younger in your sales career, sometimes you get into these funks and you get these days that you're running into, really a tough crowd. People are saying no. They may be being harsh. They may be cursing at you. Get out of here. And I've had it happen, and it sucks. If you really let it get to you, which it gets to everyone, you have to learn how to build up a tolerance and thick skin. But when you first are going through this and you're feeling that, you're down, you're doubting yourself, you're projecting that. You're almost desperate now when you're walking in. You're not there to sell them something that's a benefit for them, something that could help their business or help them personally. You're basically just asking without giving them the reasons why. And you're just, it doesn't work. And sometimes, and I learned, after a while, you just gotta be like, you know what? I've been out in the field for 2 hours. It's an 8-hour workday. I've been out in the field for 2 hours. I'm miserable. I need to get out of the field right now. I'm doing more damage.
Just to get out of the mindset,
I'm gonna go and get some stuff done. I'm gonna have a good night's sleep. I'm gonna wake up, and tomorrow's a new day. Tell me this isn't true. Have you ever had a really bad day, bad night? You wake up and things just feel better.
100%.
So sometimes you just got to know when to call
it. When we had the first podcast we had, I was really harping on, because I think it's absolutely true. I think it's overlooked. That the skill set of a salesperson helps you in every aspect of your life. Like the way you project yourself, the way you can carry yourself, the way you can deal with rejections, the way that you can use your tone to get something that you want. Not something deceitful, but just if you have a good idea and you want to have influence, you can't sound like a scared cat. You need to sound like you know what you're doing, and you need to have good ideas. You need to be able to talk to people. You need to be able to counter objections. So my question, I guess, is has your ability to sell to anyone, whoever, in California or Oregon, I'm kidding, but your ability to hone your skill set, has that helped you in other aspects of your life outside of just plainly selling to people in a professional environment?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the obvious one is salespeople talk to a lot of people. So you build up a comfortability of just talking to people. We're very social, and the more people you talk to, the easier it is to talk to anyone. So that's, I think, the first thing, right? You just know and feel comfortable approaching people. When it comes to swaying somebody, and I know you walk a fine line with sales, right? Because there's this stigma of sales, like we're slimy, we're just trying to make money, and we are trying to make money. I'm not going to lie to you. But that's not,
someone's got to sell this damn beer I'm freaking drinking.
I mean, every right. I mean, look at your desk. Look what's in that room. Somebody sold that free product at some level. But yeah, I think, just like we're talking about your journey through your career and growing as an individual and a professional, you're taking those skills and you're applying them in your everyday life, your personal life. So hey, I moved into an apartment and they wanted, this amount of money. And I said, well, I think the value is a little less, and I know who I am, and I know that what's out there. I know where the market is. So I put all these facts together and I present my offer on the flip side, and I give my reasons why, and I tell them the benefits of, who you're getting. Hey, I'm a family. We have roots, we have kids. We're not looking to jump ship right away. I mean, you could get more potentially from a group of friends, but what if one of them fall in love and now one moves out? Now they're scrambling.
You selling son of a bitch! You start selling the seller.
That's it. So you try to figure out and use your strengths, and you gather facts and you present. It's and you learn this over time, and that's just, of course, one example. But yeah, I mean, probably. My wife might even tell you, I probably sell her on things. I don't know.
But how can someone who doesn't want to do sales as a professional, but may understand that, hey, you know what? Yeah, I should know how to fucking talk to people. I should know how to be more influential. How do you, because that's difficult for me. I've never really done professional sales. How do you?
Yeah, I think everybody sells. Everybody. I mean, anyone who's ever been on a job interview has sold themselves. I mean, it's just inevitable. Now, whether you do it professionally or not is one thing, but I think, knowing some things or studying, reading up on a few things, even if you're reading up how to do an interview, I mean, they're basically giving you a sales script of what things you should do, things you should highlight, tailor your resume to the job position. Right?
Yeah, but sometimes my issue is the resume, just the help on sometimes it's just not that helpful. Like, I don't know. I've told you this before. When I hear salespeople speak, it's like they're talking about results. Like when you're in an interview, you're like, I've done this and I did. Like, sometimes people giving resume advice, show them how you did this and what you did and tell them, here are the questions. Sometimes it's really not that helpful. If you
that's true. Those people probably shouldn't be giving advice. But yeah, I mean, if you, I think what you're getting at is like if somebody on their resume say, "Oh, at my last job, I successfully put a team together that did this."
Well, not
right?
just resume, but just
but not just saying the team was able to achieve X, Y, and Z in this amount of time.
Well, I guess what I'm getting to is
Go ahead, Ben. I'm missing it.
No, you're getting it, but I still think that someone who has a ton of sales skills, like you will be better, in my opinion, in an interview than me, because I think that you just have a really honed way to sell, but people don't have 10 years to learn sales.
Right.
So have you ever, is there a book that you recommend for like a novice person to read that has helped you? Like what have you done to study up on this stuff outside of, and if it's all practical stuff, like you actually getting your hands dirty and doing it, then maybe there is no book and maybe it's just a matter of.
Well, frankly, there wasn't a lot of books or studying on this. It was a lot of trial and error. And I've worked for some great companies that had some great training programs, that really helped me figure it out on my own, of course, with guidance. So it's tough to give somebody thinking about, a career in sales, again, there is no, one size fits all. It's you could find a million books, a million different, ways to sell. And you got to figure out what works for you. You got to be able to sleep at night. That's important. You got to have honor and dignity when doing it. And not all sales books, point you in that direction. I guess, what's the root of this question? Are you looking for?
There may not be a great answer. I guess I value the skills.
Well, there might be. I'm not the one to give it to you.
That could be true. Yeah. Who knows? It could be a stupid question too. It could be a very stupid question. Do you see yourself always are you now like a long lifetime salesperson? Like, do you just always see yourself in sales?
Oh yeah. Would I move up in the organization? Sure. But would it be sales? Yes. Would that potentially later on in my career branch into different things? It's possible. But, even as you get higher up on the ladder, you don't think, what marketing or marketing is like sales adjacent.
But could you be a CMO? Could you be a CMO with sales? Because sales and marketing at one point they converge.
At one point, yeah, absolutely. But the point is, let's say you climb up the ladder. I would like to climb up the ladder. I don't know how high I want to go, because then you're getting into like kind of risk reward, benefits, stress, workload, value. There's all sorts of things you need to consider. But I'm saying just as in general, as far as climbing the ladder, at some point, once you pass a point, everyone is selling. Like you're selling to your peers, you're selling ideas, you're sharing ideas, you're trying to get feedback, you're being sold ideas. Like selling is just it's inevitable. It's inevitable. I think a lot of people may look at sales one way through one lens, and that's like, oh, you're in sales, you work as a professional in sales, and that's it. There is no sales outside of that. But the truth is, once, and to your point, like in your personal life, it's useful. I use it. And I think the higher up you get in the workforce, and climbing the ladder, sales is just, you're selling every day.
Here's my point. Here is my point of view / recommendation to the world. You tell me if it's a stupid idea or not.
Okay.
I think a lot of people who come out of high school or college get into a nice job with a company that has a legit amount of revenue coming in from their customers or clients.
Okay.
They tend to take it for granted how hard it was to get those customers. So my thing is like, I feel like everyone should at least try to start their own business. It grounds you as a person. You stop being such an asshole if you are an asshole. Like if you think your shit smells so great, like, and then like, okay, now I actually have to sell something to people and people have to want what I have. I think it makes you more of a person that has humility, that is down to earth, that can take feedback, that is able to deal with failure, and you like ground yourself as a real person. Whereas, I don't know, you could take it for granted how hard it was to get this revenue. And so for me, sales is the like most, like, let's put it this way. Accounting is great, all that stuff, finance is all good, important. But you're not running as a business if you're not getting any sales.
Right.
So the sales is like the core of making a business operate.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it would help people. For me, I thought it would help me if I tried it. I didn't try.
I get your point. I would not recommend everyone go out and start a business because that's a whole different animal, right?
Doesn't have to be a big business. Could be a small business.
Well, I mean, I think there's better ways you can achieve the same thing.
True.
So let's say, choosing the right company is one thing. There's companies out there, like, especially for young professionals, this is, people either about to graduate college or have just finished, their senior year, they have their degree, and they're going out in the world trying to find a career. There's companies that develop sales professionals, not just sales professionals, just develop professionals.
What are some companies that do that?
I work at Cintas. Now, I didn't go through this program. My current company even has it. It was called what was it called? Like a mentorship program, or a sales trainee or management trainee. Like
you have to pay for this. You have to pay for it, or you have to pay for it?
No. You're hired. You're an employee. But they put you through rotation. So, like, you'll start off, you'll go into, like, accounting. You'll do a rotation in accounting. You'll learn a little bit about accounting and the ins and outs, how they run the business. Then you might go into, like, operations, and you're going to do a little tour there. You're going to get a taste of what that is, right? And then you'll go into management and what's that like? And who are we managing and the different levels of management? And then you do a rotation in sales, you get a taste of that. So, like, it gives you a real life, real world understanding of what's out there and, what the capacities of each department are actually doing. And then you're able to make a decision as far as to, like, okay, wow, like, I get to choose the direction I want to go. Now, at Cintas, the last rotation is sales. The last rotation is always sales. And, in discussion.
Why is that? You think they're trying to push you towards sales?
Cintas is known for their sales. They're a sales organ. I'm like, this is like, I'm plugging Cintas, but they're a sales.
Well, you have always told me Cintas is great at developing sales professionals.
They are. They're, put it this way. Other companies such as mine that I work for, pharmaceutical companies, bigger companies, they love getting people from sales organizations like Cintas, even Enterprise. Enterprise is another good one. They have like a management training program.
You have said that before too.
Yeah, yes. Like there's certain, companies that they want these people. And Cintas is where I got a lot of my formal sales training. Like they have a lot of good techniques and they break down all sorts of situations. I think we spoke about it last time a little bit, like how important goal setting is. You know, I've always heard about goals, and I started my career selling a sports nutrition product, right? I was a manager of New York for a company called IsoPure, and I was kind of thrown, you know, to the wolves, like, you know, sink or swim type of deal. And I was fantastic. You know, I just really, I was. I'm not, you know, it's not even patting myself on the back. I swam. And, you know, but I did it my way with really no direction. You know, I kind of set some goals for myself, but it really wasn't, you know, I had a lot to learn. Like,
That was your first job out of college, right?
Yeah. And but Cintas is where I learned how the importance of like goals, like, and it kind of like blew my mind. But you know, these skills are things that I learned at a formal program. Now you could search these things like SMART goals. I know we talked about it a little bit. That's just an example. Right? It was like specific goal, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And it's just, you know, if you build a goal based on that criteria, now you really have something to work with. You have like a start and end date. Did I make it? Did I not? And you can discuss why I made it, how I made it, and all those things. And it keeps you on track. I didn't know about that till a place like Cintas. So the point I'm making is that, you know, I don't think you need to start your own business to get a sense of why sales is important and understand, you know.
I agree.
Not why sales is important, but you're trying to say like, hey, this is a successful company and taking it for granted. You want to know how that came to be. So either a sales training program like that, or just it takes effort. Have that in your mind, like be curious, ask questions. How did we get this account? I'm in accounting. Who is this account? They're great payers. How did we come to get this account? Like if you just put a little thought into it,
that's true. That is true.
Perspective of, you know, how lucky you may have it that, you know, that account is with that company.
Did you always think that you were? I'll give you my opinion.
Sure.
You are an extremely confident person. It seems like I couldn't have said it when I was younger because maybe I was just not eloquent enough to even say it or think about it or know the path. But it seemed like you always, from hindsight, a little hindsight bias here, it seems like you've always were meant for sales. It seems like you had the personality. Like, is that maybe it's something that you didn't even realize until you started getting into it? But in your head, like, do you think you're meant for sales?
Looking back, maybe. And I don't think, you know, again, why? Like, why was I meant for sales, right? Like you're saying confidence. I had confidence. Like that's just one aspect. Like,
well, confident plus you could almost because you're older than me. You used to hang out with my brother. I was the little guy. I was like 5 years younger. I don't know. You just had a convincing way of telling people what to do. Maybe it was because you were huge. You're like 6'5" and like built like a goddamn bodybuilder, but you're also just very confident. So like, I feel like you were meant for it.
Well, I think the things that are working for me in sales, and I think, again, there's attributes that work for everyone. I think, yeah, I'm confident. I'm not cocky at all. I'm humble. I also think that I care. I really care. I care about people. I care about their feelings, their thoughts. And, you know, things like that are vital in sales, or at least you want to be perceived as caring. I'm not saying all people in sales care, but they sure come off as they do.
Well, the people who really don't, you can tell, I think.
I would think so too. And I don't like those people, to be honest. And I've worked with several. Being honest. No, but you know,
when did you figure out that you were like, sales is my thing?
Yeah, until I did it, honestly. It was never even out there for me. It was never a thought in my head. You know, so I played football at CW Post, Long Island University. My major was criminal justice. I really thought I wanted to be a cop. I really did. I thought I'm a big guy. I'm an athlete. I'm like, I just feel like it would be a natural thing for me. I think there's some authority. I would obviously, I have authority because of my size and I guess my confidence. And then, I just thought I like helping people too. I do care about people. And I thought, wow, what a great career. Plus there was benefits to it, right? Like everyone knows, at least in our area on Long Island and New York, cops work for 20 years and there's a pension. And to me, I'm like, wow, I mean, sounds fantastic. Unfortunately, I graduated, well, not unfortunately, I graduated with a criminal justice degree. But I graduated at a time, 2009, where the economy was just in shambles, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I couldn't find a job. There were no classes. I've taken the test. I scored high. I've traveled. I went to other states to try to become a police officer in Georgia, South Carolina. I didn't even want to move there. I'm just like, I got to get a job. But, after doing some jobs here and there to get by, I landed this Isopure job, this sales manager job. And I was frankly scared shitless. I'm like, holy shit. They're interviewing me. They're offering me the job. I know nothing. Am I fooling them? I'm like, what is going on? So at that point, I had no idea. I'm just answering their questions, and apparently I'm saying the right thing without really knowing what I'm doing. Did I know then? No, I did not know then I was doing the right thing. It started when, and I walked into a business. They were roughly, so let me set this up a little bit. They were...
First of all, hold on. Before you say anything, when's the last time you took a sip of your wine?
Recently.
Jesus Christ.
My Lord.
The beer I'm drinking is 9% alcohol, by the way. I'm on my second one. I can only do 2. Yeah, I'm feeling it a little bit.
I got a lot going on. I forgot to run out and get beer. We're going to Disney Saturday with my family. But funny enough, my company, they own a couple of vineyards in California too. And they just sent me 2 bottles. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'm drinking wine.
Got it. That's why you're drinking wine.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Set the stage. You were about to set the stage.
Just, like when did I know, find out? Well, I got thrown into the fire. When I say that is, I didn't have any sales background, didn't go to school for sales, didn't go to school for business. I went to school for criminal justice, knowing nothing, right, about sales. I get hired from a company and I think part of the reason why I got hired was I played football at 330 pounds. I lost in like a year, you remember this, like 100 pounds. And Isopure was like my main protein source. Like that's what I used. And I saw a position and I got super excited. And I guess my passion shined through and, there I was now selling for this company that I loved, that the product I used, and I really believed in it. And
because you're a personal experience, you're saying you lost 100 pounds because of
product. Yeah, it was like that. I was buying that protein. That was my protein, and now I'm selling for it.
Got it.
It was like cool. It felt like every day I'm like, I can't believe I work for this company. But I walked into a business where it was in-house distribution and sales. So I ran the state of New York, and we had accounts. It was about $1 million business. And the idea was, okay, just familiarize yourself with the product, how we do things, the customers, fulfill their orders. Basically just like, this is my first taste in sales. Really, it was like order taking almost. Like, hey, what do you need? You have a store, right? Like you're a vitamin shop, or not a vitamin shop at that point, but a mom and pop vitamin store, or a gym, like a World Gym, or something like that. And you're just calling, hey, I'm Steve, you're a sales manager, how are you?
Was it awkward first trying to sell?
Oh, it's super awkward. I never talked to a customer. It was like, what the hell am I doing? But it was easier because these were customers. So it was like, pressure wasn't really there at first because I was fulfilling orders, asking, what do you need? And then we were bringing them their stuff. And that's sales, whether you like it or not. Those are sales, sales management. You're managing accounts. And that's where it started. And as I grew, I realized, all right, like I'm not going to grow the business with these accounts. like, yeah, we come out with new products, or maybe they get an influx of, members and they'll order more, but it's really not going to move the needle. Like, you need new accounts. You need to get new accounts. So I literally remember my first sales call. I mean, it was awful.
First outside sales call with not like a.
Yeah, like I'm out in the field doing my thing with accounts. I'm like coming to this crossroads. Like, I need new accounts. And I forget the name. Well, what it was called. It was like Vitamin Depot. It was like in Farmingdale on 109. And I kept passing it. I'm like, what's that place? Vitamin this, vitamin that. I'm like, I'm in every vitamin place I drive to. Like, why not this place? So I drive in and I go in, and I remember a sales technique that I learned once watching a YouTube video. So I didn't want to go in there and make like, like a scene, like, hey, I'm Steve. I want to, sell you. So I just stood there and was walking up and down the protein section, looking at everything. And I'm just waiting for someone to approach me because I didn't want to approach them. And, thankfully we had a good product because I don't know what the hell I even said. I sell Isopure. And he's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, oh, it's a protein powder. I'm surprised I'm not seeing it on your shelf. Like, it was just
interesting sales technique.
Yeah, it was like, oh, well, what do you mean? I mean, I think I've heard of it. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, it's funny. I lied. I was like, I just came back from the Olympia because I started around that time and we're a big sponsor. And I'm like, we were actually at a booth next to them. And I'm like, so we're up there with these big players, but I would think I was, would be in the store. I was actually coming in because I thought you were an account of mine.
How old are you at this point?
I'm 23.
Yeah, that's young.
Yeah. So, long story short, we had a conversation. I don't remember exactly, but he's like, hey, why don't you, give me a couple of samples? Do you have samples? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you put it on your shelf? We won't charge you for it. Sell it at this price point. See what happens. I'll come back next week. And I'm like, if it works, it works. If not, we'll give it some more time. And he sold almost everything. And he's like, I think I'm going to need to get it. And I'm like, okay. So then he just organically became a customer. And then we started expanding with the flavors and the different products. And, I was there for 5 years. He turned out to be like a pretty huge account for me.
Really?
A pretty huge account. And it's funny. It's like, I was just conversating with the guy. I wasn't pushing him. I was being relevant to his space. I was mentioning competitors, which always piques the interest of somebody. If you talk about something they're selling that you have that would fit right in, or your competitor around the road is doing this, they're always interested. This is their business, right? Like, they want to know what's going on in the streets. So without really knowing that I was using some form of a sales technique, I absolutely was, and it worked. And I think as time went on from that point, that's where it started developing some sort of skill. And I started to realize, wow, I'm on to something here. Like, I got here thinking, this is cool. I work for Isopure, love this product. And now I'm starting to think, holy shit, I'm selling people on shit. Like, they're listening to me. They're buying from me regularly. People I don't know. And now I'm branching out into places that are a little, I'm not selling into a gym or a vitamin store. Now I'm selling into a deli. Not a big difference, but at the time it felt like a big difference. Different points for them. They're not worried about how much protein it has and the benefits of your muscles. Like, they couldn't give a shit. They just want to know that it'll sell.
Yeah.
So it's like you start branching out, and as success was happening for me, I'm building confidence, and I'm like, wow, confidence that was always there is helping me. Me caring and I'm concerned. I want people to be happy. All these things, that these traits of mine are just transferring right into my sales career, and they're working with me.
Did you, I'm curious if you developed your sales technique, because in my head, it's like, did you one, did you now go up to people more confidently and like say, not, instead of wait for someone to come up to you?
Yeah.
Two, did you like add your personal story to it? At that point, I don't know if you lost 100 pounds, but if you were to come up to someone and say, hey, you could probably say, hey, look at me at this time and look at me now. Like, this is a true story. This is why I work for this company. I wonder if you added those, like, two things.
No.
Now you go to,
Go ahead. All right. So first question was, I just lost my train of thought.
yeah, do you go up to, instead of waiting at the aisle, looking at the things?
No, there was certainly that.
And this is no training. Like, you have no train. Like, this is not Cintas. No one's training you. You're just learning on your own. Got it.
It was literally just go do it. It was crazy. I can't believe they did this to me. When you look back, like, the older I get and the further in my career I get, and I look back, I'm like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, could have been a disaster. And truthfully, they hired like 3 or 4 people before me, and they were just complete failures. And they just kept doing it. Like, we're gonna hit on one. They're playing a numbers game, clearly. Just to tie this thing in a nice bow. Yeah, so no, I mean, I don't remember specifically, but that was short-lived, that technique of, that was just me completely, a confident guy like me being unconfident, right? Like, I felt weird, don't know how to approach people. But as you start talking to strangers and business owners, which is a big deal when you're in your young career, like, he's a business owner. Like, I'm 23 years old. Like, what the hell do I know?
Yeah. That's an interesting part, though, right? Like I said, I've always thought you were confident. But I would assume that being in sales and putting yourselves in these, let's say, vulnerable positions actually made you more confident. Because for myself, if I look at myself from like 17 to 23, definitely a shell of confidence inside. No effing way. Like, there was no way, like, until I like experienced life and like had challenges and failed miserably.
Right? You grow through that stuff.
So you must have got more confident after. I feel like maybe salespeople get more confident from sales. You think that's an accurate thing to say?
100%. 100%. And like, that was my first sales call, and it happened to work. And we're talking a lot about my successes. There was a lot of failures. A lot of people, you walk in like, get the hell out of here. Somebody's been in here from your company. You guys are fucking pissing me off. Go away. Like, not even a time of day. Like, I'm not even a person. And you got to wear that. You got to walk out and take it. What are you going to do? Fight the guy? I'll lose my job.
Yeah.
So, you learn to accept that. You learn to accept that. I really learned to accept that at Cintas.
Because you were not getting that like before that. You were a big dude. You were 6'5". No one's telling you, Steve, get the hell out of my house. Like in college, you're a football player. That is a change of reality for you.
Definitely new to me. And it wasn't like, I guess how you react to it matters, I would say. I didn't get pissed off. I didn't even think about getting pissed off. I was more like stunned, shocked, like complete, like, what? I didn't even, and you're like, I'm like, goodbye, like, see you never. Like, it hurt. It shot at your ego at first. Like, you gotta learn how to deal with that stuff. And there was a lot of no's. That's part of sales, man. I mean, I don't think it's quite like where I'm at now. It is certainly not those numbers I gave you early on, that 33%. No, like, my numbers are probably pretty good. But you learn.
Wait, your numbers were pretty good when you started, you said?
No. Well, my numbers, business sales numbers, have always been good. I'm talking about that ratio I gave, those statistics of 33% say yes, 33% say no, and you're working in that 33. I think that shifted dramatically over time in my favor.
Got it.
Because, right, that 33% you're working on, you kind of learn how to make them yeses.
Yeah.
Those people know, when you don't have skill, they're a no. You start to turn, you start to flip people over time. Right? So you get more confident in that. But that comes with no's. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from no's, what not to do. And then you self-reflect. What did I do in that call? And then I said that. Yeah, I probably would have punched me. So that's good. At least he just said no and didn't punch me, But you really do learn from that stuff. So anyway, yes, there was, I don't know how long into selling in that approach of let them approach me. I don't know. It didn't last long. I started approaching people, of course. Of course, you build that little confidence, all right, I know my product. I use this product. It should be in here. And then you just boom, hey, and it's kind of like instead of waiting for them to talk, same conversation. I'm just starting it now. And then, sorry, big tangent there. Second part of your question was.
Oh, I completely forget my second question.
Oh, okay. Well, me too.
Do you remember it?
I know there was two parts. The first one was, when did you make that switch? I don't remember the second one.
Oh, you answered it. It was when did you add your personal touch to it, like your personal story?
Right.
You said you did.
No. A little bit. Not. I mean, part of IsoPure was we are all more than muscle. That was their like tagline, and it was no frills, no promises in a market or in a business that, I mean, if you ever used any sports nutrition products, it's just laced and riddled with fast weight loss, like super muscle gains, like crazy claims. We didn't have any claims. So I didn't want to put my weight loss story in there because it kind of diminishes what the product was.
Well, you probably also work your ass off for that weight loss too.
Oh, yeah. It's unsustainable amount, but yeah. So like, yeah, my personal touches is just me, who I am, and things like that, but not as far as like my journey with IsoPure and the reasons why I was there. It was a little too much for,
yeah,
like what the product was trying to achieve marketing wise. But sales is something that I really do believe not everyone, but most people can do at some level. I'm saying everyone's going to be a rock star, but I'm thinking that people have traits, and if there's an understanding that sales isn't jam something down your throat, whether it be a product idea, if you make it more of a like consultative conversation, if you have half a brain, just half a brain, you'll be able to, and listen, you'll be able to pick up what the person you're talking to is throwing at you. And it's kind of problem solving and entering your product, solution, idea in where it fits, and you're onto something. And I think most people have the ability to do it, but you have to have confidence. You can't, you have to really, some people get nervous and clam up and they're just focused on what am I going to say, and they're not listening, and the thing gets botched, and I've seen it happen. And usually it's because of inexperience, which is okay. That's how you learn. But I think if everyone gave it a fair shake, they'd be able to do it. It's just, we don't need 3 billion salespeople. We need, profession for everyone out there. Unfortunately, though, I think it also there's a stigma with sales of the slimy, creepy guy who's just out for a buck and will say and do anything to achieve his goal, which is unfair. But
it is. It is unfair. Can you hear any noise in the background?
Yeah, somebody's blending up a great shake. Probably IsoPure.
Yeah, that's my wife.
Is it a blender?
Yeah, it is a blender. It's the NutriBullet or something.
Yeah, it's very thin.
But I'm surprised because this mic is supposed to. So I have a setting for this mic that's only supposed to take in volume, or noise this way. So I'm surprised, it's coming through. I don't know.
Pretty loud though. Don't pass any gas.
What?
Don't pass any gas. That mic will be
you mentioned two companies, Cintas and Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Yeah.
I guess let me back it up.
Okay.
What would you recommend for a person who's wants to do sales as a profession, the reason I thought of enterprise and
Yeah.
Cintas is like, well, if you can get that position, they can teach you how to do things.
Sure.
But what would you say is like a good thing for someone who might be listening that says, I want to do sales, but I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I didn't go to school for it, but is there a place that I can learn it? And I'm assuming one of the parts of the answer might be Cintas and enterprise, but are there other organizations that do these things?
So, yeah, and I don't know them offhand, but there's I guess I think it's a magazine, but it's a website. I think it's Powersellingcom, I believe. And they rate companies like, number one best place to sell by power rankings or what a power selling, right? So there's lists that, rate these companies of why they're so great to work at. And selling's one of them. And there's categories and the reasons why they're so good and what you get out of it. Like, so, they're number one, why? Oh, they have sales training, their compensation, their benefits, this and that and that. So like you could almost see what the top dogs are, and then you could kind of make a decision by looking up these companies and trying to figure out, hey, this interests me, let me try it. But I think when you're looking at the top companies, most of them are there for a reason, and it's because they have a training process. It is like Cintas, I get hired, you have 13 weeks in a training role. And I came in after being successful for 5 years. I went into Cintas and I had 13 weeks where they're training me on their sales process, the dialogue they want you to use, objection handling, closing techniques, selling against competitors, selling against people who buy the things we're trying to sell and how to convert them into our products. And they really, it's pretty, 13 weeks is a whole quarter, pretty long time. And you're doing things in the office, you're going out in the field. And I think there's a number of companies that do this. Cintas Enterprise, top of my head. And I know specifically when you're thinking about a sales and career, just having those things, those companies or companies like that on your resume will attract these recruiters to you because they know what you've learned and the types of positions they are and what you're asked to do by those companies, where they pretty much think, and it's proven, that it translates into pretty much everything else. Not saying you come out polished and perfect, but you got a strong base. So I think somebody who's thinking about sales and doesn't know where to start, a good start would be one of these types of companies. And I don't want to name others, but they're on this website. You can do some research and choose one for yourself, but it would be a good idea to get that on your resume.
And the other side of it is someone like you who had 5 years experience of selling, in your head, if you were overly confident and you thought look, I've been selling for 5 years. I know how to do this. I'll do this formal training program to get through it, but I need to get it out in the field. Was it a shock to you, like that, how much that you learned that you didn't even realize was in selling?
Yeah, I was excited for it, but also thought like I knew more than I did. There was a point where I was almost like resistant to it because I thought I knew.
That's the best time though, right? Is when you're resistant to it and then you're like, oh shit.
And like the guy who hired me was pretty cool. Like I still talk to him. I used to be like, dude, what? You tell me anything about this? Like, I thought you hired me because I knew, bro, just trust me. Just trust me. Go through the process. Trust me. I'm like, all right, man. And like, I remember a lot of times being like, this is so stupid. I don't need to do this. I don't get, why am I doing this? This is just slowing me down. I know what the hell I'm doing. Just put me out there. But you learn, and I don't think I really even learned even then. Like, I think there was times way later when I'm in the field and I'm like, shit wasn't working the way I wanted it to. And I'm like, let me just try this stupid technique. And I'm like, oh crap. Like, it works. I don't have specific, time that I'm thinking of right now.
I'm sure there's plenty. I'm sure it's just like comes to your head while you're coming up to someone. You're like, should I try this?
Yeah, it's even just like it's like these techniques. It's like so funny. At one point when you're learning a technique, it is so goddamn foreign. And like, I sound like a robot.
It's like working on a muscle that you've never
like
worked
when
out
somebody
before.
gives you an objective, like, I used to be like, and just kind of like respond to them. And like, there's a formal technique where you say, I completely understand where you're coming from. And then you like ask more questions to kind of specifically get the objective, like price. Everyone, price. Well, what about the price? Is, like, if it's a service, are you worried about your monthly cost? Is it your initial cost getting into the program? Like, you break it down to specifics.
Yeah, you're too good at it now. Like you
Yeah,
probably
well,
just.
So like, but I remember being like, oh my God, like that sounds like, how long does that take in a conversation? Like, it takes so fast. But when you're learning it, it's just like, it's so foreign. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. That is just crazy. I'm going to get kicked out. They're going to like think I'm insulting them. Like, but the point is, like, even after being successful for 5 years, I still had so much to learn. And I still have so much to learn now. But things like from Cintas that I'm using today it's not even a thought. It's just how you do it. It's just the right way to do it. And it makes complete sense. You really want to get an understanding of what these people are trying to tell you, whether they love it or hate it. Like, you got to understand the why and what's the hang up and why do you really love it? Even that, why do you love it? Like, you could think it's something else, but that's what that was the thing that you hung on, like, it's important to have an understanding, and without that training, I may never figure that out.
You thought you were hot shot after
I thought it was
5 years,
bro.
and you had a
My
lot
shit
to
don't
learn.
stink. My shit don't stink. Apparently it stunk.
Okay. We hit an hour. Jess is gonna kill me if I keep you any longer. You got 2 babies at home, and so we'll leave it at this. It was amazing to have a conversation with you. It took about 2 to 3 months after I completely screwed up the first one. Yeah, not good.
It's not your fault, though. I mean, look, you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, I effed up. I effed up badly. When are you coming out with a podcast?
Confident now.
When are you coming out with a podcast?
It's a great question. I know you're the one that keeps kind of pushing me.
Yeah, do it.
It wouldn't be a bad thing to do. I don't know.
Give me 3 give me 3 reasons why you wouldn't do it.
Okay, time.
That's a good one. I think that might be all 3.
Yeah, time, and time. And yeah, time is just time away from the kids and all that stuff, which, 1 would have been easy. 2 is just different needs, different times, and you'll see, like, with your little one, things just change so quickly.
Yeah.
As they grow up, like, and as they reach different stages, their needs change, and, it's, so time would be it. And then, I don't know. There's like some interest, but almost like, what am I going to talk about every week? Like, you're doing a great job.
I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure
content, and it's varying, and it's meaningful, and it's impactful, and it's helpful. A lot. I'm sure it takes a lot of time to just, the hour's one thing, but what about the background? All the time it takes to put it together.
It is definitely time. That's I would say 80% of the content, though, is a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's really technically taking people like you who have learned a shit ton in your life, and I'm just capitalizing on that. The funny thing is, you force yourself to have these conversations. You actually learn, like, let's say this never goes anywhere. Who the hell cares if it does or doesn't? But having these conversations with people from all over the world, you actually learn, like, who has good ideas and who doesn't. Because if you, as yourself, as a person, think you have all the ideas, you are an ignorant mother effer, and you don't have all those ideas.
Well, you and I both, I think, this light bulb went off. I don't know when for you, not even sure when for me. But you go from I know it all to I know nothing to every day as you're getting better, still knowing that there's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
Everyone says it. So many people say it, and a lot of people have seen a lot. But everyone's, I've seen it all. I've seen it all. You haven't seen shit. You haven't seen shit. Shut up. You maybe seen more than me, but you certainly haven't seen it all. And that's the point, right? Like you learn from everyone, every day.
That is true. All right, dude. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you having me.
I don't know when I'll see you next, but it has to be soon. It's got to be soon. Maybe Margot and Wesley, the same age.
Pretty much, right? A month apart.
Yeah. They should. Well, that's the issue. They're actually the same exact age.
Oh, could have been, should have been.
No, but think about it. Like the developing baby. Like if they were both
one just at the same age.
No, I'm not even saying a month apart. I'm saying they're not a month apart.
Oh.
I'm saying that one just happened to get delivered earlier than the other, but they started both at the same time. Let that fuck with your head while you're going to sleep.
Oh my gosh.
Let that fuck with your head.
I hear you.
You understand what I'm saying?
They were conceived days apart.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Understood.
All right.
But I don't
Have
know
a good night.
It's your birthday, not conceived day. Okay. But I'll leave you with that.
Have a good night, my dude.
All right, man.
Talk to you later. Bye.